Hey everyone, my name is Pritesh and I'll be the host for today's podcast. And I work at Harness as community manager and I take care of LitmusChaos community. Along with me, I have Karthik, who is the senior engineering manager at Harness and one of the maintainers of LitmusChaos, who will be helping us with, you know, doing some Q&As and chat with our panel today. And with that, I would also like to welcome our guests for today's podcast. So we have some amazing people from Flipkart sharing their experience with Litmus and Chaos Engineering and how they are performing it at Flipkart. So let's start with quick intros. So just tell me about your roles at Flipkart and about yourself a bit.
Hello, I'm Aditya. I've been working in Flipkart for the last 1.5 years, and during this time, my primary area of focus was implementing LitmusChaos as a central chaos engineering platform and also enhancing it, fine-tuning it for our ecosystem.
I'm Khushi, and I work as a software developer at Flipkart in the reliability team, which is the part of our central platform group. And I have been working with Flipkart for about an year and a half now. And during this time, I have been deeply involved in strengthening our reliability practices. Recently, I've started contributing to the chaos engineering initiatives in our team. So, yeah.
Hey, hi Pritesh. Hi team. I'm Harshit. I have been a site reliability engineer since 3 years. Have 1.5 years of experience here in Flipkart. Being part of reliability engineering team, I have been involved in quite a lot of platform engineering tools here in Flipkart as well as before in my work experience. So I got introduced to Chaos recently, like some 6 months back. Very excited to hear about this interesting project and have got opportunity to do contribution and so hoping for better future endeavors here in chaos engineering. Thanks.
So the question to you is, how does this resilience or reliability fits into your team's charter at Flipkart?
So actually, we are part of the central reliability engineering team here at Flipkart, and we build and manage systems which promote the resiliency factor or the reliability factor across all the services in Flipkart.
My next question is, what led Flipkart to implement chaos engineering, and how did you guys started exploring this niche, and how did you found out about Litmus Chaos, and why did you choose it for performing chaos at Flipkart?
So actually, we did a detailed POC on the tools available for chaos engineering. So there were quite a lot of options: Chaos Monkey, Chaos Mesh, Litmus Chaos. So there were quite a few things that stood out in terms of Litmus Chaos, which made us implement Litmus Chaos as our central platform. To start with, I would say the Kubernetes-driven architecture and the orchestration which LitmusChaos provides. Since we are mostly now shifting towards K8s, all our workloads, so this comes in line with our practices, and that was one of the main reasons. Apart from that, the rich user interface and the user experience that LitmusChaos offers in terms of replicating and drafting the chaos scenarios. The easy to drag and drop user interface. It really helps in the onboarding process and the execution of chaos. And apart from that, one of the major reasons also would be the advanced extensibility, the way we can create our own custom experiments in Litmus Chaos, custom faults per se. Uh, because every team has their own requirement, uh, own kind of chaos scenario to implement, and it may so happen that the uh, faults offered out of the box from Litmus Chaos may not be enough. So in that case, this really stood out for us, where we could create our own faults. And also the resiliency factor, the probes which come out of the box from Litmus Chaos. This helps us in quantifying the resilience of a particular experiment, or we can even chart it out across teams or an organization level. So this is in line, this is in the roadmap for us. We really want to focus on the resiliency score as well going forward.
Got it. And thanks for sharing that. That why did you choose Litmus? But I want to come back to the first question that was part of the question that uh, how did you got to know that hey, let's start chaos start doing chaos engineering, and this can be the reason why we want to do it, something on that line.
Yeah, so I can sort of add color to that question. Uh, there are different motivations for taking up chaos, right? Sometimes it's part of some kind of digital transformation that the is attempting, some kind of migration from, let's say, heritage infrastructure to a microservices model or to a new orchestration platform like Kubernetes. Or sometimes you're already there, you have some good practices already, but you saw some outages in the recent past that, led to some introspection and the need for recreating some of those outages locally. Or it could just be that you wanted to test your performance and how system operates under some kind of degraded conditions, right? Not sort of utopian idle conditions. So generally, what was sort of the trigger for you to look for chaos tools, and how did you sort of get started on this journey?
Yeah, so exactly the latter part of your question, right, where you were told that we may not have always the best scenarios in place. So to recreate the outages and also ensure the operational readiness for high scale events. Um, uh, Usually in for such scenarios, we are adopting the chaos engineering practices. We want to be proactively using chaos engineering. We don't want this to be an afterthought if and when an outage occurs. We want to be prepared for it.
Also, to add one more point, like why we are adopting chaos engineering practices, like just to focus on the recovery time as well, not just the prevention. Like you can't prevent all the failures, but you can improve how quickly your system recovers. So that's where the value lies for the chaos engineering practices.
How did your team started adopting? So the initial adoption for chaos is something that we have seen. It takes time. It's a gradual curve of learning and implementing it. So just share about your experience that uh, how was it initial adoption process of chaos engineering and Litmus in general?
We actually saw a very healthy adoption rate in the recent readiness for Big Billion Days. So as I said before, the rich user interface which comes out of the box from LitmusChaos, that was really helpful to promote this adoption rate across all the teams. And what we saw was usually the central teams, which directly impact all the application or dev teams, let's say the Kubernetes as a service or the database offerings at a central level. These were the teams that were eager to hop onto the chaos engineering platform, and they already had some runbooks in place and they just wanted to test it out. But we also saw a few application teams on board, and they were just playing around with the tool, seeing how their application behaves under different chaos scenarios. Yeah, so that was the initial onboarding process, but there were some difficulties in terms of onboarding the namespaces, let's say in Kubernetes. So we developed some in-house solutions, modified and tweaked around LitmusChaos a bit, so that the adoption rate increases and it's much easier for them to onboard.
Since you already mentioned about the adoption process and how but like how challenging it was for you, but what do you think, what were the early wins that you had, that hey, this is done or something like that, that you celebrated that okay, this has been implemented and it's working fine?
Like as I said, we tweaked around some of the internal workings of LitmusChaos to increase the multi-tenancy model. Yes, to promote the multi-tenancy across Flipkart. So when that was in play and being used by everyone, that was an early win for us because the current models which are supported by LitmusChaos, let's say the cluster-wide installation or the namespace-wide installation, that doesn't work for us in our ecosystem. So this was sort of an early win, and also we developed some custom faults which were in play during the chaos engineering practices before Big Billion Days. So Those were some of the early wins for us.
Curious to know where you ran these, Aditya. So was this in some kind of a staging environment, or did you directly run it on production? What kind of...
So, yeah, please continue.
Yeah, I was just curious about where you ran it, and was that sort of something like a shared environment, or was it like more of a isolated quarantine test environment that you were doing these things on?
Yeah, so majority, let's say 90% or more of the executions were on a staging cluster. So this is where the teams play around, uh, test their applications under chaos, and have their own chaos runbooks which they execute. But there were quite a few scenarios which needed to be executed on prod clusters. So there was a mix of the environments that were in play during chaos engineering.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's a great step. We don't usually see organizations trying to run chaos in prod. So I think if you've managed that, then that means you're already in a very mature sort of cycle when it comes to leveraging chaos. So that's awesome to know. And how was the sort of... I understand that you are a sort of a central team responsible for resiliency, and you have the mandate to run chaos experiments. It always helps to have a team that is sort of focusing on that. But I'm assuming that the staging environment is also the place where developers are doing some functional testing or doing some early integration testing, etc. So is that so how was the chaos on a shared environment taken and received within the organization? Did it cause some anxious moments, or did it generally go smoothly? Or did you have to take some kind of time windows for doing chaos? How did that experience go generally?
So generally, teams when they execute chaos, they have, let's say in KTS world, so they have certain namespaces for each team that owns. So they were running chaos on their particular namespaces. So that generally didn't affect the rest of the cluster. But on node level, we did not actually run much of the chaos, but that is in our roadmap to support node level chaos as well, or even cluster level scenarios. But there was not, or I didn't notice any kind of anxiety among the developers when it came to executing chaos. It was mostly smooth during the entire chaos engineering practice that took place recently.
Nice, nice. It's awesome to know.
What are the key use cases that you're using right now using Litmus in Flipkart today?
So it's mostly for operational readiness before high scale events, let's say big billion day sale. And it is mostly being used as of now by central platform teams, as I just said earlier. Let's say the Kubernetes as a service team or the network services team, which implements one of their use cases is implementing the Istio mesh in the Kubernetes clusters, or the database offerings at a central level. So these were the teams who mostly utilized the Litmus Chaos platform. But going forward, we are aiming to promote this adoption across application level teams as well, so that they can test their code under chaos.
So you mentioned pod chaos. Node was in the roadmap. It's probably more disruptive. So right now, folks are able to do chaos experiments in their own namespaces and get by, mostly the pod,
Yes.
right? So what is
Yes.
most used one? Is it resource-based chaos? Is it network-based chaos? What do you feel the need for doing the most?
I think it's a healthy mix between resource-based chaos and network-based chaos. So I've seen a lot of CPU memory hogging and as well as network losses and DNS failures as well.
Okay, okay, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually the network chaos is sort of the what do you say, the common option that we hear from. So
Mhm.
I think that's a pattern that we see repeat across different types of chaos users. So yeah, I think DNS is also a pretty common issue nowadays. So I think. It's a good test.
True. Like recent outages, global outages, most of them
Well,
trace
yeah,
back to DNS.
yeah. I think there's a very um, funny sort of a quote. I think there's a lot of memes about it as well. Wherever you see outages, it's always the DNS, right? They have some outage.
Yes. Yeah. True.
Yeah. Just curious, do you use DNS spoof experiment at all? We created that fault,
I
but
know. I there was a like discussion when we were showing around the faults that are offered out of the box. I didn't really notice DNS spoof being used much. It was mostly the DNS error fault being used. But I think seeing the recent outages, uh, you could say that the AWS outage or the Cloudflare outage. I think DNS spoof is also something we should include in our chaos runbooks.
yeah, I think we've also not seen too much adoption of that fault. DNS error, yes, pretty common, but
Mm.
DNS spoof, not so much. So we were really wondering if that's something that people are interested in. Yeah, nice to know.
How do you integrate Litmus Chaos in your existing CI/CD pipeline or workflows?
So as of now, it is not integrated into the CI/CD pipelines, but it is in the roadmap. There are some discussions pending in this area. So whether we include this as part of our software development lifecycle or have this run on a need basis wherever whenever some team wants to execute chaos, they can just hop onto the platform and do it. So there are still some discussions going on, but as of now, it's not implemented into the or integrated into the CI/CD pipelines yet.
Understood. Cool. Are we like, is there a roadmap for it? Are you planning to do it later or something?
I mean, we are exploring options. One of them definitely includes integrating into the SDLC itself, just like how unit testing is a must in SDLC. We are thinking in the direction of integrating chaos engineering as a must. So there are discussions going on, but we have not finalized it. This is one of the thoughts we have, one of the primary options as of now.
So can you share more about the custom hybrid architecture your team designed, a multi-tenant chaos platform that you just mentioned in your previous conversation? So can you share more about it?
Yeah, so this was mostly to promote the multi-tenancy architecture. So what LitmusChaos offers out of the box, as you may know, is the two installation models, right? The one is the cluster-wide installation, and one is the namespace-wide installation. So we took the best of both worlds. There were some trade-offs in the cluster-wide approach and some in the namespace-wide approach. So in the cluster-wide approach, there is a singular subscriber which can scrape all the targets across the cluster, which goes against the multi-tenancy model. We just wanted a particular tenant to to have a look over only their target workloads, not the others, or throughout the cluster. And the trade-off with the namespace-wide installation was all the components for LitmusChaos, be it the workflow controller or the CRDs that are getting installed, all of that needs to be accounted. The headroom for ephemeral experiment pods or the runner pods, that needs to be accounted by the tenant itself, the resources and the capacity. So there were some trade-offs in both. So what we came up with is we have a singular chaos operator and a workflow controller. And we have per tenant subscriber. So for us, a tenant means a team, basically. So a team can come to the platform, they can tell the namespaces which they want to onboard, and we spin up a subscriber as a central namespace, and they can only target those workloads in those namespaces only. So this uh, gives rise to a multi-tenancy model. And this was in play during the recent chaos practice for Big Billion Days.
That's interesting. If I sort of heard it right, you can correct me, Aditya. You have a centralized cluster scoped operator and workflow controller, but you have individual subscribers in the namespaces, right? That's what you're saying.
True. True.
Yeah, that's a very nice model. It's a good balance between doing everything cluster scoped versus having to repeat the operator and workflow controllers in every namespace.
Exactly, yeah. Like that would put the onus of managing the infra onto the tenant in that case. So we wanted to avoid that.
Awesome. We should actually go ahead and document this on the Litmus documentation as sort of a one of the preferred modes of operation. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
The next question is, what led you to build the script runner as a first class fault, and how does it improve or expand your chaos workflows?
So, as I mentioned in the earlier answers, to improve the onboarding rate, so we came up with a first citizen fault, just like any other fault which is offered out of the box from Litmus Chaos. It's called a script runner. So there was a need for dynamic target selection in some of the use cases. And as you may know, the target selection in Litmus Chaos, in bare Litmus Chaos, is static. So we wanted script runner to influence the target selection of the other faults, let's say pod delete or network loss, to be influenced by the script runner. And what the script runner does is it is basically just like any other experiment pod, but it will have an image which will be it will run a container image which will be defined by the user. It will run a script which will be defined by the user, and also have sort of input and output, which will influence what other faults ingest. Let's say pod delete. So the targets which pod delete has to take care of, which will be influenced by the script runner. And also this gives endless possibilities for the teams. One of the use cases was for the database teams where they had this leader follower model and they wanted to verify their leader election in play. So this gave rise to the script runner. We came up with this in very quick time and deployed it, and it was successful to cater to the team's needs. And in the future as well, I think we still have to put some guardrails on it because it is a very dangerous sort of fault. If we see from uh, the targets it can have, it could do anything, basically whatever is in the script. So we need to put some guardrails around it, but it is a nice to have feature, and yeah, it improved our adoption rate.
No, I think we've seen this sort of the wrapper model or scripts that are orchestrating experiments being used by some of our other users as well. I think it gives them the best of sort of both worlds. They're able to use the tool as needed according to their use case, their flow fits into their existing automation frameworks, etc. So I think yeah, that's nice to know that you're also adopting that.
Right. Also, this kind of, actually, I missed one point. It also gives context chaining between the faults. So let's say there are multiple faults. So whatever script runner is exporting out of it, whatever the information that it is exporting, can be used not only by the following fault, but any of the faults in line during the entire chaos experiment. So it is quite dynamic in nature. We can fit many use cases into it.
Awesome. So there is at some point you will have the ability to chain faults or probes or actions within an experiment to that capability is something that we're also working towards. So natively as
Okay.
part of the experiment, you will be able to do some kind of context passing across the different steps. So yeah, I think there is an organic need for that as we can see, which is what you're also solving today using the wrapper approach.
So next we have, I mean, how did you implemented the internal VM chaos support for environments not fully on Kubernetes?
Yep. So actually, Litmus Chaos mainly its primary focus is on Kubernetes workloads. But it's not everything runs on Kubernetes. So some applications do require VM as their base. So we have kind of customized it a bit and made it a hybrid architecture here. So we took inspiration from the existing VM power of experiment that was available out of the box from Litmus, and it was using kindly a vCenter APIs, which is kindly targeting the VMware virtual machines, physical machines. So what we thought is we could, have we already had some internal cloud platform APIs for the basic operations of start, stop, and restart experiments. So we have kind of used the same inspiration and have developed a custom experiments for the VM support and some general level chaos experiments as well, where the stress chaos experiments, say memory hog, CPU hog, network hogging, and then disk level experiments. So all such experiments we have used our own internal package which uses stress ng. So such kind of packages were actually helpful for us, and LitmusChaos was very customizable. So we have built on top of it and ran on the VM workloads here in Flipkart.
No, nothing specific. So this was on Linux machines. You mean Harshit? Was this on Linux or was this on any other OS?
Yeah, it was Debian only. It was Debian only. Yep.
Okay. And
The
were you
packages we chose was with respect to the operating system the users were actually targeting on. So accordingly, we chose the operating system for the binaries we were launching.
nice? Got it. That makes it sort of hosting platform agnostic. You can target Debian on any platform, VM,
Yeah.
different cloud providers, etc.
Yeah.
Nice. What kind of validations you were trying to add, Harshit? Was it any different from the kind of probing that you were trying to do on Kubernetes? Or were you always trying to use some standard observability tooling like Prometheus or something to fetch metrics?
So actually, was whatever the out of box LTS and Grafana exporters, as well as the experimental run history and tabs, as well as the resilience code tab that Litmus provides. So that was correctly showing the metrics which VMworld also needed. And since the VMworld already had their own metrics dashboard for themselves, so that was the proof of concept for them. And for like let's say any probing part of the testing if someone need. So we already provided like the custom probing that we had, so it already you can do the SSH and internally do and write some custom commands and use the custom probe to check your infrastructure status checks before and after the experiments.
Got it. Yeah, nice to know.
So can you talk about the work that you've done around high availability for chaos injection, especially using the daemon sets?
Yeah, so this also we came up when we came across some of the problems when helper pod scheduling issues came to our notice. So as you may know, some pods like container kill or pod CPU hogging, memory hogging, stress chaos. This requires the pod to be on the same target node as the target pod. But something we noticed in our systems was, in especially in the staging clusters, was most of the times the helper pod did not have enough headroom to get scheduled itself. So that would result in a lot of failed chaos executions. So, but we do have a lot of headroom in the production clusters, but this was something which we noticed in the staging clusters. And this is where we want to actually support chaos engineering practice, because when a developer comes, this is where he would want to run his chaos tests first. So what we did was we instead of having this helper pod being created on demand, we shifted to a daemon set approach, and we created a replica for each node in the cluster. So this daemon set pod will contain the same image as the litmus go, which is used to inject the chaos. but it will be long living, and it will have enough headroom to support multiple or parallel chaos injections. So for example, let's say there are four workloads on a particular node, and there is this one daemon set pod which is also scheduled in that particular node. But there are four different executions which are targeting all these different target workloads on the node. So what it does is basically all these four experiment pods which are spun up during this experiment lifecycle, this will offload all the information of the target to this daemon set pod and tell it to execute the particular kind of chaos. It could be pod CPU hog, it could be network level chaos, or anything container kill. So all these four will run at once in different shell sessions, and accordingly it will target the workload. So what this did was we had a daemon set pod running all the time, and we did not have to schedule our own helper pod whenever a chaos experiment was spun up. This helped in solving the scheduling issues for us, and also improved the high availability of the platform, especially in the staging clusters.
Yeah, this is interesting as you describe it, because we have had this kind of asks for people who are trying Litmus and autopilot and similar such clusters, where creating new pods or spawning new pods is not something that's easy, and you'll probably have to run something that's predefined to target the applications, right? Not just autopilot. There's so many other carpenter-based clusters, etc. So having these helpers running in persistent mode as a daemon set, and being able to serve the injection requests in parallel is a nice thing for scalability. There is a trade-off. I think some people do not want highly privileged pods running on their clusters all the time. So they prefer the
True.
just-in-time execution of these pods. But considering this is a local environment, and we have multiple people executing chaos, I think this model makes a lot of sense. Have you considered open sourcing that, Aditya, anytime?
Sure, we'll talk about it internally, and I'll get back to you. But definitely, I'll like to open source it. What we actually did was, yeah, as you said, all of those daemon set pods are highly privileged, right? So I think stress chaos requires the maximum permissions, right? All the host node permissions running as root, pod security context as the highest. So that definitely was a trade-off and security risk, but we were okay with it. Because that ensured that the platform was always available, and it was just a staging cluster, so the risk is minimal.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Could you highlight any open source contribution your team has made? It could be bug fixes, UX improvements, or enhancements to LitmusChaos.
Yeah, so I can start with it. So as I told you, I've recently started working on the Chaos platform. So I thought the best thing to like onboard myself over LitmusChaos is to contribute. So I have done 5 open source contributions till now. So the first one were 2 related issues, which were related to probe name uniqueness. So what was happening is like we were unable to create chaos probes with the same name in different projects also, because it was not just project scoped, it was global scoped. So, and secondly, we were unable to reuse the probe names after deleting them. So I found these 2 issues. So the first one was basically because in the MongoDB index itself, the chaos probe collection uniqueness uh, was just on the name constraint. It didn't involve the project ID itself. So if I have included the project, so it became project scope. So like we can have the same probe name in different projects as well. And the second one regarding the, like if we delete a probe, we cannot use that name again when we are creating a new probe. So that was also like issue with the filtration process. So I did both of these fixes. Secondly, whenever we were attempting to add tags or description to an existing experiment in the chaos UI, when we were saving changes, resulted in an error of duplication. And that was majorly because in the update chaos experiment, the duplicate name validation was being called like unconditionally without even checking like we have changed the name or not. Like even we haven't changed the name, we were just changing the tags and the description. Then too it was calling that duplication function to check like whether this probe exists or not. So I did a fix for that as well. And then there were some UI fixes that I have done. So like if I tell about them, so there was one bug. So whenever a experiment completes, it was not like the icon that was shown, it was not consistent with uh, the error status. So I made it consistent by using the right tick, green tick column in like for those experiments which are completed. And also like in the fault cards, for many faults like related to GCP, Azure, etc., only the Litmus logos were being shown, not the exact logos respective to those fault cards. So I have done a fix for that as well. So yeah, these were some of the fixes that I have contributed to the community.
Real thank
Yeah.
you, Khushi. I think these are all great fixes and enhancements. Really looking forward to seeing more of them coming over time. And
Yeah,
yeah, wishing you good luck as contributor.
sure. Thank you.
I had one fix that was almost a year ago. It was regarding the custom image registry, which is a feature offered in LitmusChaos, but that was not really reflecting in the final workflow YAML which was generated whenever someone saved an experiment. I think that was a long-standing issue until last year, which got fixed in my contribution.
Awesome, awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
I also saw one of our issues. So, like when I started using the Litmus and when I came into this project, so I heard this like the experiment pod logs are not visible on the portal, and then I checked the open source community as well. Like there were some issues which were there about the experiment pod logs. There was some terminology change, quite I think 1 year back something, in where the experiment was called as fault, right? So due to that, like the backend and frontend, some part of it was not in sync, I think, in the open source Litmus. So I saw that changes in frontend and backend, and I have made those fixes in the open source community, and it was accepted. One of my other fix was regarding the image registry, which I continued the what Aditya actually worked on. So Aditya did on maybe the edit part of it, but there was also a create and clone part of it. So those all part had to be a sync, and unique logic has to be placed inside the repository so that it covers the custom image registry fetch part from the backend. So that was also accepted recently from the Litmus. These were some of the contributions that I did.
The question is, how do you measure resilience at Flipkart? What metrics or indicators matters most for your teams?
Like the resiliency score which comes out of LitmusChaos itself, we are planning on integrating it so that it's not just at an experiment level. We can take an averages of all the experiments run by a particular team or at an organization level. This is something which is in roadmap, and we want to combine it with some other metrics coming out of Grafana, let's say. But as of now, it is not strictly enforced, or there is a minimum bar score for uh, verifying a particular chaos experiment, whether it was a successful one or it failed or something of that sort. Mostly, we are using this chaos, LitmusChaos, as uh, to check if our alerting system is in place or not, or whether the pod specs or the deployment specs are in line with the kind of chaos we are generating. So that helps us identify some of the weak links. That is how we are measuring resiliency at Flipkart. There is nothing strictly enforced yet, but that is definitely in the roadmap for us.
No, I think Aditya is probably highlighting some of what we also advocate as the basic wins you will get from chaos, testing the observability framework, whether you're getting right alerts and notifications, is probably one of the very prominent things that we also sort of try and advocate and message. Most chaos literature you'll see on the internet also talks about this. So it's a very effective way to test your observability, training incident teams, testing recovery processes, all that part, right? So it's good to see that is actually being used for it rather than um, just propagating that info. It's actually being used, put to use. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. Like most of the alerting systems were checked beforehand for the Big Billion Days sale. I have seen it firsthand when I was observing the experiment runs across all the teams, all the central teams. So the primary use case was definitely checking whether the alerting system was in place, whether it was able to identify whether a particular pod has exceeded certain kind of CPU threshold or not, or whether the network, if we execute network level experiments, whether there were 5xx responses spiking up and all of that. So yeah, alerting detection and alerting was definitely something which was the primary key for a primary motivation for chaos engineering here.
Awesome. Great to know.
Cool. Uh, so since we are talking about matrices and everything, so could you tell us about how does Litmus Chaos help you validate or improve the resilience metrics?
So rather than validating, I think it is mostly encouraging us to check the resiliency. We are replicating all the chaos runbooks in Litmus Chaos and executing them and testing it to the ultimate load or the chaos which is offered out of the box from Litmus Chaos. So we definitely want to enforce the probes and the resiliency score coming out of the probes, and also want to lay down a sort of a uh, let's say an instruction set for using probes, so that the resiliency being validated out of Litmus Chaos is itself enough. But this is something which is in progress, and we are looking into this. We want to combine it with more than just resiliency score, maybe integrate it with Grafana using APIs or something like that.
Cool. So the next one is, what's your overall chaos engineering strategy? Like, do you follow a periodic schedule or SRE driven model or event driven approach or something?
So since this chaos engineering platform is at a very nascent stage right now, uh, it is mostly event driven. Event as in any high scale event, let's say the Big Billion Days or Independent Day sale, Diwali sale. So this acts as the chaos engineering practice is basically to ensure the operational readiness. But going forward, we are um, looking into making this either periodical. So we have load testing being done periodically. So we are looking into combining the chaos engineering also with load testing, or we are also looking into integrating this into the SDLC itself, as we talked in the earlier question, whether we have integrated it into the CI/CD pipelines. So we are still sort of in a discussion mode, and we are looking into this.
So, has chaos engineering changed the way your teams think about reliability or incident response?
This question. So yeah, of course, absolutely. So the core change that has been that's the shifting mindset of the team from avoiding failures to expecting and practicing those failures. Like this has improved both our reliability and the incident management approach. In terms of reliability, we have moved from prevention to practice. Like instead of just trying to prevent issues, we actively practice handling them. And for the incident response, we have gone from panic to procedure. Like we are becoming more prepared and systematic because we have already practiced handling those failures, those scenarios through chaos experiments. So teams know exactly what steps to take when those real incidents occur. So rather than fighting things under pressure, we are already prepared for them. So overall, practicing chaos engineering has made Flipkart teams much more data driven and prepared for the real world outages. Yeah.
That catchphrase was nice. I think we should probably use it more often to sell the chaos concept, planning to procedure. It's nice.
Next is how do different teams such as SRE, platform, dev teams collaborate during the chaos experiments?
So actually, chaos is being run in a decentralized manner as of now. So uh, since I just talked about the multi-tenancy model, any team who wishes to perform chaos can just onboard onto the platform. There are some tweaks that we made around to help them onboard their namespaces or the infrastructure, let's say VM or Kubernetes. So it is mostly run at a decentralized level, but let's say on the collaboration front, something which is very useful for us and comes out of the box from Litmus is the experiment templates. So it may so happen that one team has a certain network level failure incident replicated in chaos, Litmus chaos, using maybe a combination of faults. That could also be useful for some other teams. Maybe not in the same way, but they can take inspiration from it. So we have made some sort of pipeline, let's say, to for the teams to publish their experiment templates to the Chaos Hub, which we maintain privately inside Flipkart, and this can be used across all the teams. And but mostly, as of now, it's being used by the platform level teams. But yeah, we are hoping that dev teams also pick it up and come up with their own chaos runbooks and replicate it on Litmus Chaos platform. Apart from that, what I would say is that it has been a very easy to replicate kind of scenario for all the teams, mostly because of the drag and drop feature and how clean the UI is. In Whenever you want to add the resiliency probes or you want to have some chaos run in parallel, all of that is very user friendly.
Nothing specific. I think this is also a great story to sort of share in sort of larger forums about how you've got that pipeline built out to push experiment templates for reuse, right? We've always been saying that when we began Litmus, even before the control plane and the UI was brought in, we were very clear about wanting to create the chaos hub and facilitate some kind of reuse. So it's good to see the teams of users have actually taken that concept and built sort of some kind of tooling around it to leverage its power, push templates to chaos hubs, and make it reusable across the larger organization, etc. So have you added any kind of validation for these templates as part of this pipelines? Is there some additional metadata that you inject? Just curious to know how you sort of built this automation around yourself.
Uh, uh, like verification regarding what of the experiment template?
Couple of specs that you're generating, are they is
Mm,
is
Not really. Actually, we have made some tweaks to the backend itself so that it is compliant to run on our Kubernetes clusters. So whenever someone is using the Litmus Chaos Studio to draft out a new experiment itself, it is compliant with the our Kubernetes cluster, whatever the specs that are attached to a runner pod or mentioned in the chaos engine. So, but we definitely actually need to, now that you have told, we actually need to implement a check also in the pipelines so that the templates that are coming into the chaos hub are also compliant. But yeah, we have to implement that check. But there is something we have tweaked in the backend so that it works for us.
I see. Okay, got it.
Question is, what improvements have you observed after running chaos tests with Litmus Chaos?
Yeah, so I can tell of two improvements that I have noticed. So the first one being like better system design decisions. Of course, like if you are running the chaos experiments early in the development cycle, that helps us to identify and fix the architectural weaknesses early. And it's of course much cheaper to fix those things at the design stage than during an outage. So that was being the first one. The second one could be improved confidence in the deployments, like the teams who have done chaos experiments. Uh, so because they already have validated the system resilience before, so they feel more confident in releasing their new deployment. So this has reduced the anxiety around releases. So yeah.
Okay. I have a question, a follow-up question on that. Um, so have you seen like your entire team getting more like after performing a chaos, and if it gets successful, or how does team at Flipkart is seeing from their perception that hey, um, they there is an improvement, there is a difference of you doing chaos engineering and you not doing chaos engineering. Have you seen that difference running around across teams?
I mean, there are actually, like, this has been a practice since long to have a chaos run book. But yeah, like team have not it's not very evident that someone not doing chaos is at fault, but we are strictly enforcing it, and that is in our roadmap to make the chaos engineering practice a must. This is something we want to focus on, and we are proactively taking it up.
What are some key learnings from your chaos engineering journey so far?
From my perspective, at least, implementing and enhancing this, implementing Litmus Chaos as a central chaos engineering platform here in Flipkart, and the kind of scale at which we operate, and to accommodate a platform for such scale, and enabling the different platform level teams which directly impact the other hundreds of developmental teams. So that has been a very rewarding journey so far, and also learning about chaos in general, the benefits it has. It personally has helped me a lot, and also taught me a lot in terms of the internal workings of chaos, right? How Linux internals, Kubernetes networking, everything comes together. And as a fresher, this was a very rewarding journey for me, at least.
Yeah, like I agree with what points Aditya has mentioned, but for me, like the one thing that I learned with the chaos experiments is like we should document everything, like having a clear hypothesis before running experiments and documenting the results afterwards make a huge difference. Like it helps us learn from the past experiences, and like we can share that knowledge to other teams as well who can face those scenarios in future. Like it can help us to build incident playbooks as well. So yeah.
Yeah, on the same line what Aditya said. So, like there are certain there's a term called scenario chaos scenario inside Litmus Chaos, which means you can create your own experiments. So anything before a disaster, you can do n number of experiments before moving to production or moving to a big event like BBD or any Diwali sale or something. So this is a very good platform to see like the such kind of you know tool exists where you can create your own custom scenarios and experiment your infrastructure.
Yeah, like the scenarios we test become the foundation for our incident run books. So which makes the actual incident response much better if we have already done the chaos experiments.
With that, we'll go to the next question. That is, what advice would you give to other companies planning to start the chaos engineering with Litmus, or in general start chaos engineering?
I mean, chaos engineering is something which is usually an afterthought, is what I've seen after implementing LitmusChaos at such scale here. But we are proactively taking up this practice and enforcing chaos engineering aspect here in Flipkart. And going forward, also, we don't just want to be running chaos just before a high scale event. We want this to be strictly integrated into a pipeline, or let's say a periodical event, to ensure that there is reliability across the systems in Flipkart. And also, since there are so many microservices, and at a scale of Flipkart, they are tightly integrated. It's very dependent. So uh, I think chaos engineering is a must. We have to take this up to ensure and to prepare for any kind of outages. But we are also regularly reviewing our approaches, coming up with features, enhancements to promote this chaos engineering practice. We are very hopeful, and the interaction with LitmusChaos community also has been very rewarding and welcoming. So yeah, we are hopeful of the future of chaos engineering here in Flipkart.
Like I also want to add on this. So I would suggest others to leverage the LitmusChaos community and the documentations that are provided. Because the platform itself has great resources and an active community. So don't just try to reinvent the whole wheel. Like use what's already available and customize it according to your need. So yeah, and like building the chaos engineering practices takes time, but like we will not be seeing the result overnight, but the investment in reliability and resilience is absolutely worth it in the long run. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and also special emphasis on LitmusChaos, how easily it is extensible, as I already mentioned. That is a great starter for companies who are not yet into chaos engineering. I think LitmusChaos should be their first pick, if at all they're doing a POC.
Yeah, and if they are in their starting phase, so I would suggest starting with few teams and services as a pilot. Just don't try to roll it out across your entire organization at once. Like learn from that pilot and document your successes and the challenges you have faced. So yeah.
Are there any specific Litmus Chaos features you are excited about or planning to adopt or you are expecting to be there?
Something I've noticed which was missing and is very crucial is the experiment potlucks, which are lost when the experiment is finished. So I would definitely like it if those are made persistent. Maybe a solution out of the box from LitmusChaos for storage of these logs would be great. And that's something we are also looking forward to.
Sure. Noted, Aditya.
Yeah.
We'll take that on board.
Also, like we can have the capability to export and import probes as YAML files, like similar to how we already do that for experiments. Like this would be really valuable when we are having multiple LitmusChaos installations and like need to migrate probes between them. So yeah, this could also be added feature.
Yeah. In fact, the probes as YAML part, Khushi, is something that we have in our roadmap too. So this is something that we do have in the harness sort of enterprise ecosystem that we are planning to push to Litmus as well. So you will see that coming at some point in near future.
Yeah, because like right now we end up creating similar kind of probes multiple times. So that would really help.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I had one thing like since LitmusChaos is actually called cloud native solution, so all the solutions are oriented towards some cloud native technologies. But I was thinking like we should have some Litmus VM agent similar to maybe a Chaos D or Chaos Mesh agent, so that you can directly install this agent in your virtual machines and run the stress operations. So such kind of setup inside a Litmus can be helpful for someone who has a physical machine workloads.
Yep. There was a project or a sub project started. You might have noticed something called M agent within the Litmus org, machine agent as we were calling it, mainly to cater to Linux. we got started with some work there, but couldn't really take that forward because of some bandwidth constraint with maintainers. But that's something that we will definitely we want to add um, in the coming days. So yeah,
Because the community here is quite has a bit gap here. So this community will be well covered who focuses more on virtual machines. This will also get covered as part of LitmusChaos.
yeah, definitely.
All right. With that, we are at the end of the podcast. We have one last question. That is, do you want to share anything else about your experience related to the community or your experience? You have shared everything I know related to the project, related to Litmus, but this specific question is related to your today's experience doing this podcast, your experience with the community, how any problem that you're facing, were you able to uh, have that into a conversation with us, and how response that you got and everything, all those things.
It has been a very rewarding journey, leveraging LitmusChaos at such a high scale here in Flipkart. And also, the community has been very welcoming in terms of, let's say, there were a lot of confusions or questions I had when I was implementing LitmusChaos earlier, very early in this year. And the community was very open to such questions and very quick with their responses, which helped me come up with this in very short amount of time. Also, it also feels very good to be a part of this podcast, finally giving back to the community in some way, sharing our learnings, the innovations that we have come up with in LitmusChaos. Yeah, I'm looking forward to contributing more and uh, grow this as a shared success story.
Yeah, and like for anyone who just starting out their LitmusChaos journey, so take that first step, run your first experiment and see what happens, learn from it and iterate. Because the confidence and resilience you build in the system and in your team like will be invaluable through this. And like thank you for having us in this podcast. It's been great.
Yes, so definitely LitmusChaos has been very helpful. This is the first time I am have contribution and had face to face with open source community. So I had a very great experience with LitmusChaos. We definitely recommend anyone to start with their Litmus open source contribution here and the projects and give back to the community. So that's it. Yeah.
I think all of us have made our first open source contributions in LitmusChaos.
Yeah.
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 That is extremely satisfying for some of us here. So I think it was not long ago when we made our first open source contribution to OpenABS and few other CNC projects. And when we began Litmus, we started it out of an internal need, but
Hmm.
we found a lot of value for it outside. And then as we advocated it, as users started adopting it and it grew, we've heard these stories of how people have begun their open source journeys with Litmus. I think more than the technology part, I think this is in itself a very satisfying thing. So yeah, thanks for highlighting that, mentioning that.
Thank you.
Like the whole LitmusChaos team has been very responsive, the whole community. So that helped us a lot to like uh because there was a learning curve at first, but because of the vibrant and the responsive community, so it helped us to uh onboard way faster. So yeah.
Cool then. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing their experiences, your everything that you learned, your advices, and whatever you have been doing at Flipkart.